going to present a synopsis of a presentation from the BeaverCon 2020 First Inaugural Conference in Baltimore, Maryland, that was presented by Carrie Gunson on March 4th, 2020. And the title of this talk is Integrating Road Ecology Mitigation Measures with Beaver Exclusion Techniques at Road Drainage Culverts. So the problem statement is that we have drainage culverts all over our roadways. And what we need to do is allow water to go through those culverts. However, beavers are plugging up those culverts when they're in their habitat because they want a specific water depth. So maintenance departments are putting on exclusion screens. The exclusion screens still allow water to go through, but are sometimes dammed on the other side by the beavers as well. In addition, freshwater turtles and other wildlife can get stuck in these mesh fences and they can't go through the culvert. So we need to find a solution. So the objectives of this project were to have drainage culverts in beaver and turtle habitat to be able to pass water and wildlife under the road. And also we need to prevent beavers from damming these culverts so they can pass the water and the wildlife. So our target species in this project are freshwater turtles. We have 8 species in Ontario, and all of them are listed as species at risk on the Species at Risk Act at the federal level. Road mortality is a serious threat for all of these turtles, and often these turtles come up onto the road shoulders to nest, and they are more at risk of roadkill. In addition, they cross roads to get from wetland habitat on both sides of the road. So our methods were to first begin with a literature review to evaluate whether there were exclusionary measures used for beavers at drainage culverts, as well as for wildlife passage, and to look over all of these methods that have been used in the past. And we came across experts and contacted them, such as Mike Callahan and Skip Lyle, and we compiled all this information. And we had a MES student from Queen's University do this work. So the journey began, and we found Facebook resource topics, and we also found resource books. Eager, for example, written by Ben Goldfarb, who is now writing and researching for a book on road ecology. So we compiled this all of this information, and what we did was look and focus on beaver exclusion techniques that are used by experts and how these techniques can be modified for wildlife. One example is in the top right. We have one-way doors. So in these exclusionary measures, fencing that is used around culvert faces to keep beavers out, we can put one-way doors to allow, when wildlife comes through, to allow wildlife to escape the exclusionary measures. Turtle doors. Turtle door concept is when you're putting the exclusionary measure around the culvert face to keep the beavers away, you include a gap so that the beavers, and this gap is upland, it's in higher water, so the beavers will not go around out of the water through the gap with their sticks to plug the culvert. And the idea is that turtles can still fit through this gap to use the drainage culverts. Another concept is to be proactive and to have extra large drainage culverts rather than the smaller typical 800 millimeter culverts, which can pass more water. And also beavers will be less inclined to dam these larger structures because of the amount of debris and effort required. So our study site was on Highway 7, located between Peterborough and Ottawa. And this area had a lot of freshwater turtles, a lot of wetlands. We had been monitoring it since 2012, and we found that this one location had reoccurring hotspots for the 5 years of monitoring, and quantitatively, the roadkill rates were quite high. So we focused on this spot, and this spot was ideal because it was about a 500-meter hotspot segment. And so we could include exclusionary fence along the wetland habitat on both sides. So Adamex fencing was installed, and this material was donated and very well fit our budget. So we went ahead and installed the exclusionary fence in 2013. and we monitored. Phase 1 entailed putting the fencing on top of the ground surface on the roadbed in the road shoulder, and we used PVC posts to hold it down. But this installation method did not withstand Canadian winters with our snow and ice. So we went and reinstalled this solid material into the roadbed, and we used larger PVC pipes, and we also trenched it in to protect it from the snow and ice. So after we installed the exclusionary fence and we showed that it was able to work and reduce roadkill, we wanted to now get turtles over through past the highway in a safe way. So we went to work at the main drainage culvert, where that red circle is, right in the middle of our. Luckily, at the same time, the Ministry of Transportation replaced that drainage culvert from an 800 millimeter to a 1200 millimeter culvert, which was more ideal for turtle passage. So what we did first was we built a diversionary dam. This had been used previously as per our literature review, and it showed that if you put up sticks and started a fence, an exclusionary barrier for turtles, for beavers, that they would build on this. And then we would hope still that turtles could go around the barrier, the beaver barrier, and use the drainage culverts. So we tested this idea, and we found in the top left picture that beavers did build on this diversionary dam. So that worked. However, there was an issue in that there was nowhere now, our turtle door was not there. Turtles could not get into that drainage culvert because it was now a barrier. We also needed to provide water flow through that diversionary dam. So we built a pond leveler device, and which included an exclusionary cage, a pipe that goes into the culvert, and I'll show more of this in future slides. So all of this put together, now we had water flow, we had a diversionary dam. We ended up moving the exclusion fence back just enough so that we could provide this turtle door and this gap for turtles to access the drainage culvert when moving along the exclusionary fence. So then we still had a problem in that we had a larger beaver dam south and west further down in this system, which meant that even though we had water flow in the main culvert, the water flow stopped at this red circle. So that meant that we needed to do something at that site to maintain water flows to prevent flooding and damage of the roadbed. So this is a zoom in of that picture of that dam in the red circle. And you can see that the upstream water is 2 to 3 feet higher than the downstream water. So what we did there was we installed a beaver dam. There's a pond leveler pipe system. There are various methods of doing this, and we selected the method or protocol developed with the beaverinstitute.org. We had Mike Callahan with the Beaver Institute come and look at the site as well and tell us that this was a really good method to install. So we needed 1.5 meter depth of water upstream, which we had, and that is so that the beavers can detect the swirling of the water in the inlet side of the pipe. And then the water travels around the pipe and then through the dam and out. So this is some pictures of us installing this pond leveler system and transporting it to the site. And then we have a pond leveler device installed, and it's a success. So you can see the water coming out from the upstream to the downstream side in that black pipe. And what is of note here is that the height of that pipe in that dam will determine how much water you take off upstream. You only want to take off maximum 1 foot because beavers will not tolerate anything further. This is because they need depth, obviously, to have habitat and to be able to hibernate so it doesn't freeze in the winter. And the turtles also need that for hibernation. They need higher depths so that they're able to hibernate in the same pond. So we have to maintain 1 foot maximum of water takeoff. So we can adjust that pipe a little bit lower slightly because we only took off about 6 inches into the. So we did monitor the drainage culvert to see if we're meeting our objective of having turtles pass under the highway. So we put a camera up and we had a painted turtle and a snapping turtle use it in July of 2019. We should have monitored earlier, but we were waiting for water levels to decline. We will adjust that pipe and have further water decline in 2020 and further monitor in June when turtles are moving. Another issue was we had beaver roadkill on the site, and two beavers roadkilled in 3 years of monitoring. And we believe this may be because beavers were not able to get over the breach exclusionary fence, and then were not able to get back over the exclusionary fence. So we will trial and install some jump outs that will allow them to move from the roadside to the safe side. We cannot have beavers being killed on the site through hunting and trapping and roadkill. And this is because we need the same resident beavers to live there year to year so that they will tolerate that pipe and decrease and decline in water level from 1/2 foot to 1 foot and continue to survive there and not dam elsewhere on our site, which would just bring us back to square one. So next steps are to look at other case studies that have installed these types of measures. And for example, the Ministry of Transportation in its northeastern region have been indeed installing these types of pond leveler systems in their drainage culverts on their highways where there is beaver activity. And they have found that this type of installation versus using beaver exclusion screens and blowing up dams, etc., is less costly. And this is because there is less maintenance. You put these pond leveler pipes in and the whole system looks after itself, and there is no longer maintenance as long as the systems are functioning properly. So this is just an example of what we could do at workshops and training protocols for folks that are going to implement these types of measures. There are YouTube videos and other things, materials that we can look at to train people to install these. And this is an example of a formalized protocol that was developed by Tom Lumley, the MTO maintenance retired superintendent. So he had this for his colleagues to be able to know how to install pond leveler systems. And I wanted to say a huge thank you to all the individuals and agencies that helped us along the way. So, Animex Fencing donated the fence material and helped with installation. And then we had Scales Nature Park come out and help us. We had several interns from Queen's University. We had interns from Eco-Kare help us. And of course, we had funding by the Ministry of Transportation Highway Infrastructure Innovation Funding Program. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation and have a great day.